Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Unravel Your Mind. We're here to help transform relationships to love and life. And Happy New Year. It's 2024. It's unbelievable that we're already at January 2024. If you haven't already put together your intentions for this year, I highly encourage you to do so because it really helps. Vision boarding, all the things we talked about last year in some of the episodes of the show, just to get the new year off on the right foot. We've got lots of questions today. I encourage you to write questions in the chat here. And if you're watching live, of course, write them in right now. If you're watching on replay, you can write them in the comments on YouTube. You can also write them in the comments on Instagram at Queen Bliss B, or on Facebook at Beth Bell Live. So I love answering questions each week. So many good ones that I think are just spot on for all of us as we go through these ascension periods in our life and just working through daily things that are happening for us, things that we just want to unravel and that we want to just get to the heart of the matter. So let's start with question number 1. Do you have any practices for not taking things personally? Yeah, I think this is a good one. I think, it's all about non-attachment, but it still requires us to be present and caring and engaged with others. Now, this one, I'm not sure if it's specific, to other people. I'm assuming that's what the question is about, not taking things personally from life situations and when people do things to us. And, I think the best way to look at this is to really listen to what someone's saying to you and know that it's coming through their lens, but that there most likely is a pearl of wisdom for you in there. Meaning, you don't have to believe what they say. You don't have to take what they say to be a criticism of you. But it might be that there's a little seed of truth or just a reflection for you to ponder on. And sometimes people say things to us just to test us, to see what our own reaction is for ourselves, right? So just sit in that and be like, is that about me or is that about them? And should I just let it go? I think letting things go more and more, especially as we're moving into these new waves and these new realities, letting things go is the way to go, because that way you'll be in flow. Everything else is the mind, judging, wanting to control, wanting to manipulate. And I don't mean that with bad intentions. I mean that it's just the mind. That's what the mind does. The mind wants to be in control of what's happening. So we want to let that go. All right, Lily's saying yes on that too. All right, let's go to question number 2. I read about your relationship with a narcissist in your book. I'm dating one now and find it fascinating that I can't get out, even with the awareness I have. Any wisdom you can share about how to get out? Yeah, I think this is a whole book in and of itself, right? Narcissists can be really challenging, especially for empaths, and that is definitely a thing, the narcissist empath relationship, because narcissists really come at it from a really all about me perspective and a manipulation and how can I get what I want, and there's a lot to be learned from that. What we want to do is make sure that if we're moving into, and I've talked about this before about being a spiritual narcissist, and I say that sort of jokingly, but it's really more about standing in our truth and knowing our truth and putting our truth out there. So when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, there is something really, really juicy in there for you. It's never fun. Doesn't feel good. I'm not trying to downplay, how it feels very much like a trap, but it's a trap that you've asked them to actually play for you so that you can get into the strength of your truth, of who you are and what you believe and what you think. And when you actually move into that energy where you're not going to see someone else's power as stronger than yours, the narcissist will fall away, because then there's nothing to play with. They can't play with you anymore. They can't. The image I get is like when a cat gets a mouse and they banter it around. They'll just keep bantering you until you take your own power back. And so that's always a really, really predominant lesson when it comes to narcissists and empaths. There's something about yourself that you're not stepping into, that you're not feeling confident about. And that was part of the situation for me as well. I wanted to help heal that person, right? So empaths often think, well, we can help them. We can help them. Oh, I know why they're doing that. I know why they're doing that because they're, their inner wounded child, or, whatever the storylines are. So we're always wanting to give the spiritual passes. And so we need to find a way to walk away. Okay, I'm giving this person a spiritual pass. This is not the relationship I want. This is not where I want to be. This is not where I want to put my energy and my focus. So some of the things that you can do is, number one, have the awareness, which I think you do because you asked the question. And number two, really go deep within yourself, what it is that your hook is with this person, because most of the times it's because you're being attracted to the power, the perception of power that they're emulating. So you need to get back into your own power. You need to get back into your own truth and know that to be the truth, and not allow yourself to be spun around by the ideations of what they're trying to say to you that is an entanglement. They know what they're doing. So you just have to step through that. There's meditations you can do. There's journaling you can do. There's just taking the I don't want to say fast road, but the road of just ripping the Band-Aid off and getting out, meaning you leave the relationship. And then when you leave the relationship, it's really important to have a support team that's not there to monitor, like, oh, are you going back to this person or not? No, a support team where you can speak about your truth and how you're feeling and be that vulnerable person with someone who's not going to suck you in, with someone who cares and loves you in a way that's for your highest good, not someone who's trying to either suck off your light or manipulate or control you or pull you back into a situation. So support groups are really, really important. I think the other thing that comes to mind is really having a deeper understanding of your energy, your own chakras, your own ethereal life cord. If you're not familiar with these things, look them up online. I also talk about them in the Awakening and Healing Handbook on my website, bethbell.me. So that's a great resource. You'll find that there's an energy that if you're not bringing your awareness to it, not only narcissists, but people just walking down the street can come in and really hijack some of your energy. So I don't want anyone to get too caught up in all of those storylines either, but I think that they're really important concepts to understand so that you can protect your own energy. I know I wrote in the book and I talked about how at the time I was like, oh, I don't know what this really is. Like, is this really going to do anything? But I was given a tool to really just put myself into a bubble and visualize that. And, visualize I think it was a purple light, that was enveloping me, whether it's purple or it's white, bright light, something that just gives you a reprieve from others coming in is a really great first step. Because then they're really embodying your energy system and you're not allowing all of this to come at you in the same way. And it provides just a nice little cocoon. So hopefully those tips are helpful. Again, the Awakening and Healing Handbook gives a lot more insights on some of these modalities, and your awareness is just a really great first step. And if you have any more questions, please write them in the comments. I'm happy to elaborate further on this topic next week, or even this week if someone's able to ask the question before the show ends. All right, let's go to the next question. I'm heartbroken. My girlfriend broke up with me and I can't get over it. If I could cry, it feels like I'd cry all day long. Sorry, it just glitched on me. Please help me get over it. Well, honestly, I think you should cry all day long because there's a time and a space for release and allowing yourself to feel the pain. And I know you said if you could cry, maybe the first question is why are you not allowing yourself to cry? Getting a little trusty journal and just starting to write some of these questions. Also think about as you're sitting there when you're saying I can't cry, what part of you, where are you feeling this? Like, where is the hook keeping you from releasing emotion? Is it that you're not in a safe space? Is it that you have people in your living space? Is it that you don't have a safe reprieve? Find a space. Go to your bedroom, shut the door, wherever. In the shower. Oh my God, the shower is such a great place to cry. I know that sounds kind of interesting, doesn't it? But you're already like soaking wet. It's like the tears and the water rushing down on you and through you and just receiving, like you receive the water in a shower. Then just use that same analogy to receive white, bright light that comes in and just say, cleanse me of this heartbreak. Not that you're trying to avoid it, but that you're like, let me feel it and let me move through it so I can release it. Heartbreak heals, but only if you allow it to. Otherwise, you close your heart, close your eyes, you don't let yourself cry. You get into this space where you're like, I'm going to be a tough guy. I'm going to be a guy. I'm not going to be a wussy. I think guys that don't cry are wussies because it means they're not really in their heart space. They're not really in that place of great vulnerability where big, big love happens. It's big, big love for yourself that you share with someone else, but it's still big, big love. And if you don't go back there, then your love is like just barely coming out of a garden hose and you want it to just be right. You want to move into the next relationship with your heart wide open to love because you love yourself and you've done the work and you're not holding the grievances, but do the grievances. So please cry. And if you need to cry for a whole day, do it. And then, yes, of course, there's a point where you say, well, maybe I need to just pick myself up and move through this, right? So I'm not saying cry constantly for a whole month. No. Because then you're just going to be in a loop. So find that sweet spot. Talk about it. Find somebody that you can talk about it with. And if you start to talk about it and you cry, you feel like you're going to cry, please do. Please just allow that person to hold that space for you. This is such an interesting analogy that's coming forward. But remember when you were a small child and you fell and you like held in the tears and you didn't cry, and you saw your mom and like, boom, like all of a sudden you just like, it just came out. It's kind of like that. Like if someone witnesses you in a vulnerable state and you feel safe enough to cry, don't stop yourself because that person is going to receive many blessings from being part of that. And again, there's discernment around, at what point do you let someone else go and have them, experience their life again. Like we don't want to trap people into hearing us cry, day after day. So again, I'm not trying to put a time limit on. I'm just saying there's also inside, like, okay, I got through that big cry and now let me move through it and go home, journal about it, feel into it. But instead, a lot of people just go and numb themselves. They go try to have fun. They go, well, okay, I'm sorry, but this is a little bit, I don't mean it to be stereotypical, but I'm saying it because it is stereotypical that men often just go find someone else and that helps them get over. So they think, and it doesn't really help you get over. It helps you in most cases love less. You don't open your heart as much unless you've done the work. So whether you're a man or a woman, it all is the same. It all works the same. It's just we have different characteristics oftentimes between the sexes and how we handle things. So that's why I'm calling them out in that way. But take it or leave it if it doesn't resonate for you and whatever orientation you have in your sexuality or in your physical body. My main point is if you're going through heartbreak, cry it out. It's a great release. And if you can, I would even recommend that you have your tears and yeah, and lick them. Get the tear. Uh, be one with your tears and feel good about it in the end, because you will. You'll feel much better when you're able to release. All right, let's get on to the next question. Um, I feel no, I have what feels like a ball of energy in my abdomen just above my belly button. It feels heavy and sad. What do you think it is, and how can I get rid of it? Well, my first focus would be to say it's less about getting rid of it. You will get rid of it, but it's more about feeling into it and asking it what it needs. What does my body need? What is this? The area that you've described sounds like your third chakra. That would be your solar plexus, your home, your spiritual, soulful home. And so I would say that it's calling your attention there to really feel into your spiritual, soulful home. Are you home? Are you there? Uh, and if you aren't and you're not able to get in touch with that, I would sit in a meditation. I would, you could take your hands, you can just lay your hands on that particular area and really feel the pulse. Did you say it had a pulse? I'm getting that there's a pulse. I said a ball of energy, but see if you can feel the ball of energy. Because if it's something that you're ideating, um, you know, just feel into it. There's a reason why you're getting that image or that idea that there's something there, and you're being called to go there. One of the things that I feel like keeps coming through this channel, oftentimes is sitting in a meditation and putting awareness on your tailbone. So it's like a grounding mechanism where you're sitting and you're really present, and then also being present in that third chakra area, that above the belly button area, and really sitting with that and asking for that to open, asking that to come forward, and see what you're feeling as a result. It might be in that moment, and it might be after, it might be a little while later, but really feel into that and feel what that's about. And journal. I would say very much journal after you've really touched that area and spent some time with it, and see what it has to say. See what it's saying to you. Sadness is a pretty broad emotion, and it's okay. We can just release sadness in general. We don't have to get to the core of it, if we just can release it. But if we can't just release it, it's often calling us to pay attention to a particular storyline, an idea, something we're feeling on a I'll say a subconscious level, but I just mean that something we can't quite get to or articulate. I think that's happening for a lot of people right now. I think as we're moving into, this new reality, this new earth, there's a lot of people really coming back into their home, and it feels interesting. And I would just encourage everyone to really focus on their spiritual home and their third chakra, their solar plexus, especially moving into 2024. All right, let's go on to the next question. I spent the holidays. Oh, wait, I skipped one. Okay. Do you think there was an energetic shift that took place on New Year's Day? Absolutely, I do, actually. It feels that on New Year's Day, specifically, there was a door that opened. At least for me, it felt this way, and I've spoken to a few others, and it seems that there was a similar feeling of just a weight that was lifted. And I think what's so magnificent about this is that, symbolically, the first day of a new year, a lot of people release the old and want to come into the new, and they're more willing. And I feel that the collective conscious just opened into a reprieve of, thank goodness that year's over, and thank goodness we're into a new year. And that energy collectively, it just felt wonderful. And I think what we're being asked to do is to take New Year's Day, the energy of a new year of freshness, and keep pulling it through every day of this year. Seriously, like, we have to stay in a place above the fray. Doesn't mean we don't work through our issues. It just means that we keep pulling through the new, the fresh, the now, the presence, right? And when we need to work through something, we do, but let's remember that freshness of New Year's Day. So yes, absolutely. I'm not an astrologer, but there's a lot of really great astrologers, and I have them listed as well in my Awakening and Healing Handbook, some people that I highly recommend. And of course you can go online, and there's a lot of individuals on YouTube that can tell you specifically what happened on New Year's Day, planetary wise. But collectively, in the collective conscious, I absolutely feel that there was a huge shift. And I wish for all of us to keep that vibration of openness and freshness alive and well throughout the entire year. All right, let's go on to the next question. I spent the holidays with my boyfriend for the first time. We've been together about 6 months. I was really enjoying my time with him until towards the end. Suddenly, I was feeling conflicted and melancholy about everything. Does it mean I'm in the wrong relationship? I don't know that it means you're in the wrong relationship. I think it means that you just got some really good time with someone to feel what it's like to be in their energy more consistently. I'm assuming that this was like a 24/7 kind of holiday thing, and that you really were joined at the hip, so to speak, and that gave you some time. And then I think that there's a couple of things here. One is that when you spend that much time with someone, sometimes you just naturally and generally just need some space. You just need to be back into your energy, because you've just commingled not only with him, but you've also commingled with probably family and lots of people that aren't in your everyday life to that degree. So I think just, breathe a little bit on this and just sit with it, and that it's okay to still want your time. And maybe that's just saying, honey, you know what? I'm just feeling melancholy. I don't know that it has anything to do with you specifically, other than I just need my time. I just need my energy back. I need to just clear a little bit. Can we just take a break? And it doesn't mean a break. It just means, like, can I go for a walk by myself? Or, can we go to our respective homes? I just wouldn't make too much out of it. The other thing that comes to mind is oftentimes after, big celebrations, holidays, there's so much anticipation coming up to them, and all these ideas that we have about romance and, like what's going to happen for the traditions and all this stuff that creates a lot of excitement. And then some of them happen, some of them don't. And at the end of a holiday, there's sort of like this crash oftentimes where you're just feeling like, wow, it's over. Like, what now? And so I think allow yourself some freedom to just feel. I wouldn't get too deep into it. There might be some things to reflect on specifically about that individual. Keep it light, journal about it, meditate on it. And most importantly, just speak your truth to the person you're with. Because that melancholy feel, that feel, it's one thing for you to have it, but it's also really a terrible feeling for someone else that's close to you to feel it and experience it with you, but not have you talk about it with them, right? Because then a whole narrative and storyline can come into their mind as to what they think is going on with you. And so it's so much easier if you just share, or you just say, right now, I'm feeling really weird. I'm feeling melancholy. I just need some space. I'm happy to talk about it later. Can we just be okay with this? And if hopefully the person will say yes. And if not, then say, well, share with me what it is that would help you. Right. So you have that open communication. It's not like you're just shoving down a hard line of, I'm not talking to you right now, but you're asking for what you need. And then they can share with you what they need. And then you guys can come up with something together as to what feels right. All right, hopefully that's helpful. If not, or you want more insights, please put them in the chat. All right, next question. I'm on a trip with 3 other people who are new friends. After a few days, I felt I was suddenly the oddball out, and I'm not sure why or how it happened. I don't want everything to go sideways, and yet I'm not feeling comfortable to talk about it because it feels they are not interested in what I have to say. How can I approach them to have the best chance of resolution instead of separation? Yeah, this can be a really tough feeling to feel like the oddball out. And the thing that comes to mind is to share, generally speaking, the human race has a desire to be seen, heard, validated, and to be part of a group. Very few people are comfortable being on their own. They want to have some affiliation to something, whether it's a political party, a church, a community group of some sort, a particular friend circle, right? So everybody always tries to like couple up in a sense. And I don't mean romantic couple up, but, like pot up. And so that they know like their identity is with, I'm part of this group and I'm part of this group and I'm part of this group. And that's who I am. It's not who you are. It's all about going into the vertical column of, I know that I'm connected to source, and all of these people are beautiful people in my life playing characters that ask them to play. But I don't have to be part of a group to create the identity of who I am, because who I am isn't all of that. So with that said, that's what's happening, as the 3 people are most likely wanting to find an identity. And it's an interesting complex we have as humans, because people feel more like they're part of something when they can declare that someone else is not part of it. It's so weird. So weird. We see it all the time, especially in less mature people, less conscious people, where they want to always talk about somebody else and put somebody out there so we can feel like we're in here together, right? Like, oh, it's our intention to be part of this group. But, to declare ourselves a group, somebody has to be out. And why can't we all just be in? Inclusion, right? So there is something about separation there happening. Now, for you specifically, I would say reflect deeply on, what have I contributed to this dynamic for them to want to make me the oddball out, right? So I'm not totally letting you off the hook in the sense that it's really important to know, like, well, what are the patterns coming forward for you? If there's a pattern, or if this is a one-off, and what was it? Where was that one point where you felt like you were at odds? And what part did you play in alienating yourself? Did you come at a conversation with a sense of competition, with a sense of, I know better than you, or I don't want to hear what you have to think? Or, like, where were you in this, in this beginning of this conflict, this separation of you from the group? Get to that first. So that's number 1. Number 2, share how you feel. Really important that you share how you feel. And I'm going to make a distinction about that, because sharing how you feel means coming from a heart space. Gosh, when you said that, I really felt sad. And I'd like to just talk through how we got to where we are, right? So that's the way to talk from the heart space, as opposed to, you did this to me, or you when we get like really in that like blaming mode, it's a different energy. And that's not from the heart. That's from the head. That's from the intellectual. I want to blame you for how I feel. Whereas the other way is more of an observation. When you did this, so you're still saying you potentially, but, or when this happened, I felt this way, right? So if I would use you if there's something very, very specific, like when you called me blah, 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 whatever that is, that makes sense because then you're actually saying, but it's the tonality of your voice. It's where you are in your heart space. It's how you relay that message, and followed by a genuine feeling, not a blame, not I want to make you feel bad for making me feel bad. No, I want to share with you, I felt bad. And I felt bad because of the situation, and I really want to work through it with you. I think you'll find that it's such a fine line, but you'll find that it's a really effective way to get to the heart of the matter. And the sooner you can start doing that, the better, because the more ammunition, I don't really like that word, but the more ammunition that's like, the more, bullets in the belt you get about what got shot at you and what you shot at them, it doesn't help, because then it takes so much longer to feel like you can unwind things, because there's a lot of blaming going back and forth, unless both parties are highly conscious and you just go, let's just flush it all. Then it's a little bit easier. All right. Hopefully that's helpful. If not, give me some more comments in the comments below and I will elaborate on that. Let's see. What is our next question? We've got a couple of things. All right. Recently spending time with my mom made me reflect upon a few patterns we always have when we are together. One of them is she always seems to find a way to put me down by making a snarky comment with a chuckle. It's like she wants me to feel insecure. I prefer my mother help build me up and feel supported by her. We love each other, but when she does this, it really puts a wedge between us. I can't seem to find a way to correct it. Any suggestions? When parents do this, and I'm going to speak specific to parents, there's, an interesting relationship that we have, because mothers, what's coming through on this is that in this particular case, it feels that there's some jealousy happening in the mother-daughter relationship, and that there's something there where she actually wants to take away your happiness. And I don't mean that like consciously she's an evil person or she wants to be mean or bad or any of that. In fact, it's probably quite the opposite. But she sees things in you that she wishes she had in herself, or joy that she would like to have. And she wants to call out patterns in you, things in you, characteristics about you that cut you at the knees, because she hasn't worked through these things herself. That's what's coming through on this one, that it's a very insecure moment for her. And instead of really going into what it is for her, she projects it onto you. Because snarky comments with chuckles are passive aggressive, and they don't come from a loving place. But it doesn't mean, of course, that they don't love you. It just means that they're not coming from a place of purity in support. And that's what I'm getting from you, is you need the support. What do you do about it? You just call it out. Hey, when you just said that comment with a chuckle, I didn't feel good. Can we talk more about that? Like what's behind that? And if it doesn't work for your mom to want to talk about it, then I think at least you've called it out. And then you ask, I would like to ask that you stop or bring greater awareness to doing this to me, because it does not make me feel good. And I want to feel good, and I want to feel supported. And if you want to call out a pattern in me, can you do it in a more loving way? Can we talk about it? Can we not do this in a passive aggressive way? I think continuing to call it out in a loving way is the best way to get her awareness. Because I have a feeling she doesn't have the awareness around the deeper issue. I think she has awareness that she actually thrives on making you feel less than, or making you feel like a small child, like you're doing something wrong, or that you're not. She likes calling out that you're not in your power. And that's a dynamic that is, weirdly, it seems weird to say, but is a beautiful thing, because she's offering you an opportunity to speak up and take your power back in a really soulful way. But because of the dynamic of mother and daughter, sometimes it's harder to stand up to our mothers. And yet, when we do stand up to the people that we love the most, and that we're closest to and most intimate with, and I don't mean sexually, but intimately, in our vulnerability, that's where the real juicy stuff comes in, and we are able to really, really transmute other people's projections onto us, which is what she's doing to you. She's projecting onto you things about herself that she doesn't love, deep, deep, deep into the core of this, or resentments that she has about you, that she hasn't resolved for herself. So this is about her, as you know. It's not about you specifically. You just happen to be the punching bag for it. And as soon as you just say, hey, Mom, I'm not going to be that bag anymore, right? And you can throw the punches all day long. I'm just going to keep telling you, like, hey, I don't want that punch, and I'm going to let that punch go. And then you'll start to see a change in her behavior, because then she'll be like, oh, you're calling me out on that. Let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear in the comments in the future, when you have additional interactions, what happens if you're able to apply some of this insight. All right, let's go to the next question. I think we're almost down to the hour. Okay, I've just started dating a guy, and I find him interesting, but it's obvious to me that we are not on the same level in our spiritual path. Do you think this relationship can work, or should I jump out? Without more details, I'm going to just share what comes to mind, that one of the criteria on your list should be, is this person a vibrational match? And that's what you're asking me about, I think. Here is, it seems like there's a disparity in the spiritual path, and that is the vibrational match and resonance with that person. What happens oftentimes with light workers, empaths, people on the ascension path, and we're all on the ascension path, but people are more aware and really deeply in on wanting to ascend and awaken. We give people a lot of spiritual passes, and I would say, let that person go and see what kind of work they choose to do to perhaps match you. And I'm not saying that from a competitive standpoint. I'm saying that from are they willing to do their work? Because that's the only difference. Is when we're talking about disparity in consciousness, it's about, are they willing to do the work? And are they willing to receive the lessons and shift, right? And if they're not willing to do that up front in a relationship, you absolutely do not want to get entangled into these relationships, because they're not a vibrational match from you from the get-go. Look, if you get involved and you're in on it, then you're going to have a lot of great lessons that you're going to learn. So there's no right or wrong here. But on the path, it's really refreshing to be with someone who's a vibrational match. on the spiritual path or in a similar place with the intention to want to heal and shift patterns and thoughts that are no longer serving their higher good. But if someone's not interested in getting out of that, then there's not a lot to work with. And the disparity is only going to get greater between the two of you. So that would be my question is, are they really interested in doing the healing work? Are they interested in stepping into their spiritual path to match my desire and my place in this from a priority perspective of spirituality and expanding consciousness and knowing who I really am? Are they anywhere near my desired, flame that I have in my belly? And if not, let them go, let them do their work. And if you're meant to be, no matter how strong that soul connection is, if you're meant to be, it'll come back later. But you are not here to do their work, that's for sure. And that's oftentimes what we do as light workers and empaths. We want to help do other people's work. And especially in love relationships, I've done it a million times myself. And that's not, yes, we're here to help, but we're not here to heal other people. People are here to heal themselves. We're here to heal ourselves so that we can then project that template of pure love and light out into the world, whether it's in our intimate relationships with partners or it's our family or it's strangers. That's what we're here to do, is to shine that light brightly and show the way. All right. With that said, I think we are down to the hour, and I had so much fun with you today. I'm interested in hearing so many more questions and answering them. Please write in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, make a comment. I'd love to know what you think. It's always nice to hear how the questions and answers have impacted you, whether you ask them or not, because we're all in this together and we all share in so much of the struggles and the challenges and all the things that the mind offers us that we're unraveling. All right. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much for all of your contributions, all of the questions, and we'll see you next week, Sunday at 11:11 Pacific time.